Obiture Solutions, a leader in secure document printing and a privileged partner in digital transformation, is proud to bring its official support to the group of SIDS Leaders Conference.
Excellencies, ministers, honoured officials from the international agencies, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to this second meeting of the Group of Small Island Developing States Leaders, otherwise known as SIDS. My name is Juliet Foster, and I'll be guiding you through 90 minutes of lively and what I'm sure will be thought-provoking debate on the theme of pandemics, prevention and preparedness. Now, this event builds on the success of the first SIDS leaders meeting, which took place in early May. And at that time, we explored the impact of the Cotonou Trade Agreement on small islands. Now, as the international community begins to build a future beyond COVID-19, small island developing states are demanding a voice in contributing to and indeed benefiting from the process. But it has to start with addressing the distribution of vaccines to the largely vulnerable community of some 38 sovereign small islands across the globe. Now, to put this in perspective, a recent policy brief by the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs reported that the number of COVID-19 related deaths per 100,000 people was actually higher in SIDS compared to other developing country groups and regions, and I'm including within that LDCs and LLDCs. So from the UN to the World Bank, from the EU to the various NGOs, the pandemic is seen as having not only magnified the vulnerabilities of SIDS, but has also faced them with stark choices that have the potential to cause long-term economic and social damage. A 2020 UNCTAD report found that SIDS experienced a GDP fall of 9% compared to a 3.3% decline in other developing countries. At the same time, only 6% of COVID-19 related spending for developing countries was spent on small island developing states. That's an increase of 2% from August 2020. Well, the result of this is that COVID-19 is stretching national budgets to breaking point, with SIDS having to choose between paying off external debts or preparing for another pandemic or even the next tropical storm. Well, as SIDS struggle to repair their public balance sheet, extra funds will be required to finance the immediate health response to lead the way to economic recovery once the pandemic itself is brought under control. It's fair to say that this is a truly massive task for small island developing states who rely on commodity exports, tourism, and indeed other services. So today we're going to explore whether the international community and transnational organisations recognise the enormity of the challenge and whether we're doing enough to help. And what about the vaccine programme? COVAX, the body responsible for making vaccines globally available, has approved another $775 million to fund the delivery of the COVID-19 jab to lower income countries over the next 2 years. Does it go far enough? And how much of a difference will it make realistically? Well, to debate these issues, I'm delighted to say that we have a distinguished panel of experts. They each have an allocated amount of time to give a speech outlining their position, after which they will be asked further questions. And I'd like to stress at that time that it is important for all of you to stick to the amount of time that you have been given, as there is quite a lot of ground that we have to cover in the time available. Also as well, if you could mute your microphones when you're not using them, that would also be very helpful. Now, before we hear those speeches, I would like to call to the floor the co-founder of this SIDS group, His Excellency David Doyle. He is the ambassador of St. Kitts and Nevis, and he's going to share his opening thoughts and indeed some warm words of welcome. So, Excellency, the floor is now yours.
Thank you, Juliet. Excellencies, distinguished guests, welcome to this Global SIDS Leaders event devoted to pandemics and its implications for small island developing states. Now, this is the second such event which brings together leading experts from the European Commission, the UN family of organizations, multilateral and bilateral organizations, along with senior ministers from the small islands to debate critical strategic issues about the future stability of this particular community. SIDS makes up something like 38 sovereign states scattered across the globe, from the Caribbean to the Pacific, from the Atlantic Ocean to the Indian Ocean, representing some 20% of the UN membership. It was with a view to giving these particular small islands a more assertive voice at transnational level that the GSL was initiated by the governments of St. Kitts and Nevis, the Solomon Islands, Dominican Republic, and the Seychelles earlier this year to fulfill this ambition. The GSL platform enables these small islands to articulate their strategic vision at transnational level on strategic issues such as the one we're going to discuss today, a damaging pandemic and inflicting huge economic hardship on islands with limited institutional capacity to respond. In collaboration with my co-founding partner, Ambassador Jean-Paul Catteron from the Solomon Islands, we will be rolling out future GSL thematic debates in the next couple of months on social, economic, and financial policy areas affecting SIDS. But let me leave you with one simple thought. Despite representing 20% of the UN membership, the remoteness of these small island developing states, their size, their limited institutional capacity, means that sometimes they struggle to get their voice heard at bilateral and multilateral fora. So ultimately, the GSL initiative seeks to inscribe SIDS' strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats at the heart of the global development agenda, and allows SIDS to become an integral part of the solutions to the big issues that we are trying to tackle globally at the moment, whether it be climate change or combating this pandemic. Allow me in conclusion to thank the sponsors of today's event, Aubetoir Fiduciaire and its president, Nicholas Koudros. Enjoy the event. Thank you.
Ambassador Doyle, thank you so much for that. I would now like to hand the floor to Ambassador Mr. Li Song, who is the Deputy Permanent Representative of the People's Republic of China to the United Nations in Geneva and other international organizations in Switzerland. Ambassador, thank you so much for being with us. The floor is now yours and you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Juliet. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. It gives me a great pleasure to attend this important virtual session. As the pandemic continues to rampage around the world, the states are now facing multiple challenges such as the COVID-19 pandemic, climate change, natural disasters, and sustained livelihood. The international community should pay more attention to the needs of the states and provide assistance to them. Today's exchange will provide an opportunity for us to share views in this regard and help support the states to combat COVID-19 pandemic and promote sustainable development. Since the outbreak of the pandemic, the Chinese government has adopted the most thorough and stringent prevention and control measures, being responsible towards the Chinese people and the international community. China has successfully brought the spread of the virus under control in less than 2 months, which has been broadly acknowledged by the WHO and countries around the world. We have been actively participating in and promoting international cooperation in an open, transparent, and responsible attitude. We had provided information to WHO in the most timely fashion and released the genome sequence at the earliest possible time. We also invited several WHO expert teams to China to assess the situation of the pandemic and study the zoonotic source of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. The report of this joint WHO-China study has been released by WHO in March and reached science-based, professional, and authoritative findings. In the meantime, China keeps providing assistance to international organizations and countries in need to the best of our ability, contributing our experiences, wisdom, and strengths to the global fight against the pandemic. China has provided medical supplies to over 150 countries and 13 international organizations. President Xi Jinping has solemnly announced that the Chinese vaccine would be made a global public good. We are honoring our words with concrete actions and contribute to the ensuring accessibility and affordability of vaccines in developing countries. To date, China has provided 450 million doses of Chinese vaccines in nearly 100 countries. At the Global Health Summit last month, President Xi Jinping announced the major steps China would take to support international efforts to defeat the virus, once again sending China's strong message for solidarity to the world. China actively supports the seeds in fighting against COVID-19 by stepping up policy coordination, providing anti-pandemic supplies, and convening video conferences for medical experts, which further enhance cooperation in our joint endeavor in fighting against the virus. Since last year, China has held several special ministerial meetings on COVID-19 with Pacific Island countries and Caribbean countries to share experiences in pandemic prevention and control, as well as diagnosis and treatment, affirming China's commitment of supporting the seeds in pandemic control and economic recovery, and call upon international community to provide more support to the seeds in combating pandemic, promoting economic recovery, and addressing climate change and other global challenges. The COVID-19 has wreaked havoc on global economic and social development, brought negative impact to the livelihood of the seeds people, and widened the development divide among the seeds and other regions. The pandemic is yet another reminder that we, humanity, rise and fall together with a shared future. The international community should work together to promote solidarity and cooperation, draw on experiences to enhance preparedness and capacity for coping with major public health emergencies, and help most vulnerable countries to get back on track in their national economic and social development. First, we need to call for solidarity and cooperation. All parties should uphold the UN-centered international system, support WHO in playing a leading role in the global fight against COVID-19, and oppose any politicization of the pandemic. To better achieve the outcomes of the Global Health Summit, we need to adopt a science-based approach to fight against the pandemic, step up cooperation on vaccines, diagnostics, and coordinate our joint response efforts. Second, we need to close the immunization gap. We should make vaccines a global public good, promote equitable distribution of vaccines in all countries, and oppose vaccine nationalism. All parties should support the effort made by UN system in promoting global immunization, support WHO's efforts to speed up the COVID-19 vaccine global access facility, and improve the accessibility and affordability of vaccines globally, especially in the seeds. Third, we need to address both the symptoms and root causes. It is important that we strengthen the role of the UN and the WHO and improve the global disease prevention and control system. It is important that we enhance our capacity for monitoring, early warning, and emergency response. It is also important we enhance our capacity of treatment of major pandemics, of contingency reserve, and logistics, of fighting disinformation, and of providing support to developing countries. Fourth, we need to champion inclusiveness and sharing. We need to scale up efforts to advance the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We need to conduct international climate cooperation in accordance with the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities. And we should also support the seeds to protect the marine ecosystem and make their economy more resilient and sustainable. Dear friends, China will continue to stand for the vision of building a community with a shared future of mankind, support COVID-19 responses, and economic and social recovery in the SEEDS and other developing countries, promoting the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, and build a better future together with the SEEDS and the international society as a whole. I thank you.
Ambassador, thank you, not just for that excellent speech, but also for the promise contained within it. Now that I know you have to leave us because you do have another engagement, but we appreciate the fact that you were able to make the time to be here. So thank you so much for your contribution. All I can say now is have a wonderful afternoon, what remains of it, and I hope to see you again very, very soon. And to all of you, please stay safe.
Overture Solutions, leader in secure document printing and a privileged partner in digital transformation, was proud to bring its official support to the Group of SIDS Leaders Conference.